everyone for joining this Hangout once again. It's Channels Beam Google Plus Hangout. I am Victor Matthias, and yes, everybody is still basking in the euphoria of the results being announced by the Independent National Electoral Commission Chairman. That's Professor Tahiru Jega. Today on the Hangout, I have Victor Bamishaye is calling from Ukraine. Dimola Olariwaju is here in Lagos, Nigeria, just like me. And Benga Olarukwami also is in Lagos, while Caro is in London in the United Kingdom. Guys, thank you all for joining the Hangout. Let me start with you. I mean, so to speak, Caro. You saw the process. What would you say? What would you make of the whole process? I mean, 3 days, elections, counting, announcements. Do you think it is good for our democracy to spend so much time before we get the outcome of an election?
I think it was unnecessarily bureaucratic. I think it's something that could have been done in a day, maximum 2 days, even yeah. I really don't see any point in. First of all, you have to queue to accredit yourself, and then you have to come back to vote. I think it can be done in one step. Really, that's a lot of time. Some people queued or stayed on the queue for about 8 hours, in total, just to cast their vote. I think it's unnecessary. And again, you can see that we're still struggling with a lot of logistics. Some people couldn't keep to time. INEC staff didn't get to ballot to the polling unit on time. And then you can see that there was intentional sabotage, or people were intentionally trying to delay the whole process and trying to sabotage even the card readers in some parts of the country. So it's a step up from where we're coming from. If you look at the the history of elections in Nigeria, it's a step up. It's a step up from there, and that's mostly down to the card readers. But there's still a lot of areas of improvement, and we can do better, and we should be doing better. We had to wait for 3 days after the elections to actually hear the president-elect declared by the INEC chairman, and unfortunately it fell on April Fool's Day. We just hope no one will come back tomorrow to say it didn't happen. But we thank God, and it's all gone now. Though there are a few incidents, pockets of violence, a few people lost their lives, which is regrettable. And I think we need to get to a point in Nigeria where we can have elections, and no one will have to die, or there will be no violence. And we can only get better, really. That's where we need to be, where people can just go in, cast their ballots, go back home, and don't even need to wait for it to be counted. And the process is trusted to count and make votes count. It's a new dawn for Nigeria. We can only get better and move on from there.
Hello, Benga. What would you make of the process? Caro has just listed some things, some of the lapses in these elections. Would you say it was 100%, or you also feel there are some things or some areas that need to be addressed?
Is that for me?
Your mic is on mute, Benga. I think you should unmute it. All right, go ahead, Benga.
Okay. Carol made some very interesting points, and I totally agree with everything he said. For me, this election experience was one that was needlessly drawn out, but I need to commend Professor Atahiru Jega for being meticulous. He did his best to keep to the rules. We saw a man who understood the rules of elections as written in our constitution, as written in our electoral laws, and kept to them. He walked down to forcing the returning officers from the states to read from the election result sheets, down to being patient enough to explain to everybody the I think 19 steps in a presidential election. So as drawn out as it was, it's a fault of our constitution as is. It's a fault of the guidelines as is. And I agree with Carol that we can only get better from here. The endless queuing, the violence, pockets of violence, the claims of elections not having been held, but results coming some places vote they say that I think Nigerians must be congratulated on having held an election and having an incumbent beaten. That is a psychological victory that I think we can take away from this. Apart from the other things, I think went well. So congratulations to Nigeria.
Exactly, and congratulations to Nigeria, just like you said. I was going to come to you, Victor, but let me just hear from Demola, and then we'll come to you. Demola, I mean, they've raised their own concerns. What's your own take? What do you think about the whole process? 3 days, counting, voting, and announcement, and then jubilations, congratulatory messages, speeches here and there. What do you make of all this that has happened? I mean, just after the elections and even before the elections.
I think Bokaro. I align with what they've said. What I just want to add is that I'm still hoping to see the figures, the percentile figures of this election. I want to know, are people getting more confident in the democratic process? I think that people are actually believing under this government that their votes will count, and that may have reflected in the willingness of the people to come out on Saturday and vote. I also think that people will now realize the importance of their vote going forward, and I think the immediate effect will be the April 11 election coming. I think we'll see more voters coming out to vote for their governors, and I think that's good for democracy because on a personal level, I think that the gubernatorial elections are more important or will be more important for the people of a particular state than the federal elections. So and that of the houses of assembly as well. So I think the confidence is good in the electoral process. I think in 2019 we are going to see more people come forward. We are going to see people. We are going to see a near perfect democracy where the voter is king. Where people know that if you don't perform after 4 years, you can be booted out. So as a leader, you are not just implementing your own agenda or doing what you want, but you are doing what the people really want. And then if you want to take office, you don't need to go and hire thugs. You don't need to try to compromise the officials. You don't need to try to compromise the system. You just need to campaign to the people. You need to to toast the people, as it were, as we say in Nigeria. So you need to woo them over to your side. So I think the voter is going to become king. It's good for our democracy. Of course, like Carol said, there are election irregularities. The underage voting issue is a problem that we'll need to look into going forward. We heard also of a governor in the southeast who tore result sheets. We've heard of people not accepting the results and then trying to subvert the process, and all sorts of irregularities that people have been alleging at the collating center. I think going forward towards subsequent elections, maybe not by April 11, but maybe for 2019, we need to look into those. But all in all, I think it is a good one. It is thumbs up for Professor Tahiru Jega, thumbs up for all the staff of INEC, thumbs up to President Goodluck Jonathan, and thumbs up to President-elect Muhammadu Buhari.
There you go. A lot of thumbs ups for the people who you say were pivotal in the conduct of this election. But Victor Bamisai, let me come to you. You are in Ukraine at the moment. I mean, from the outside, you've been following events, I'm sure, and then some events unfolded. What would you say stood out for you during this process?
I think generally for this process, like the book I read most, a portion of it says, "And the light shines in darkness, and darkness could not comprehend it." But I think the situation in Nigeria becomes that the fact that there is light and that the light has shined in darkness does not mean we should entertain darkness, because right now the darkness is present. So we should look for every way to eliminate the darkness so that the intensity of our light can be so much reflected. And in general, I would say on the overall, INEC has proven to be credible enough. But I think the little foxes are still, spoiling their vines, and if we do not tackle these issues, it could lead to a credibility issue in the long run. But for now, I think so far the will of the Nigerians have prevailed. we can say let's give INEC a pass mark. I think for now we should give INEC a pass mark. And I posted something on my wall 2 days. That will be yesterday now. I mean, yesterday when the result of River State was posted, and a friend took it up, and it was as though I was encouraging violence. And what I posted was 1.4 million. These people, do they want peace for Nigeria? And my friend thought I was encouraging violence. I said no. It's not. I'm not encouraging violence. I'm only warning against violence, because the truth becomes when you subvert the will of a people for long enough, for too long, you may not be able. What you're actually doing is you are inviting revolution. And in history, I've hardly seen a revolution that does not come with its own fair share of violence. And that is what we were warning about. And thank God that the will of the Nigerian people prevailed at the long last. But generally, I would say we should still work on how to prevent these small foxes, because they are capable of destroying the vine we built. Another part of the book I read most often says a dead fly makes the scent of an apothecary stinky. So we should look forward to remove the dead flies from our apothecary. Thank you.
Guys, we need to start reading books because Victor is intimidating us with all his books.
That was something.
All right. So while Victor was talking, actually, Carol was writing in the box, and he says, "Phantasmagoric figure from River State, Demola." Well, I think Demola, you came about this phantasmagoric. Yeah, I think I got it right. That word you brought about it one time during one of the debates between
Yes.
the supporters of your party, but I'll come to you on that just in a moment. Carol, you were nodding your head in concurrence when he was speaking, when he made the first speech ban from the book you read. Do you have anything to add to what he said?
Yes, it does. I think like I said, light has come, and it's sort of like Nigerians will now know, as Demola said earlier, that the power really lies in their hands, and that point has to be made. I think we should now move from the point where politicians will feel entitled to two terms, that the power really lies in the hands of the people, and that the power of the people is greater than the people in power. So politicians will now get a second term based on their performance, not based on because they are politicians and they're entitled to it. And I think it's a watershed in Nigeria, it's a watershed in Africa, and I think I'm so happy for Nigeria. I'm so happy for Africa. The democracy can only be strengthened and move on from now on. And like General Buhari said, that he believed in '91 when USSR fell, that you can actually make a change without firing a shot. And though few shots were fired and people died, but really it wasn't by the barrel of the gun. It wasn't the military takeover. It was through democracy, and the people came out to vote. So I'm happy that happened. Even though, to be honest, I still feel really bad about this whole campaign process, because it was, I think it was a campaign of hate. It was a campaign of calumny. It was disgrace. It was a disgrace, to be honest. I hope politicians can do better, because even those that have lost, I saw lots of institutions of the government, like respectable institutions of the government, were so compromised, and it was a shame to see that in Nigeria. And even though right now not in Nigeria, but it was a shame to see. I would have expected more campaign-based, issues-based campaign. Talk about what you want to do, and talk about the government, talk about the performance of the government, rather than going into the private lives of people. And to be honest, there was a point it really went overboard, and going on personal hate and divisions, ethnic and religious divisions, which is a really sad thing, to be honest with you. I just hope we get better from here, and people have learned, and we will try to hopefully see a difference come from now to 11th of April, when the gubernatorial candidates come forward to come forward in their vote. And I hope the people will come out and then vote, and make sure Nigeria gets better, because the governorship candidates are as even important as the president, because we really don't want to have governors who are really incompetent in high places in states in Nigeria. So we just hope it gets better from now on.
All right, Carol, just to continue what you were saying, Binga, I'll come to you on this. I mean, Carol was talking about the campaigns, how it went, and all that. One concern that has also been raised is the amount of money that went down during these campaigns. Do you think there was something wrong with the amount that went down, or it's normal for money, that kind of money? I don't know how much, but I know a lot of money went down. What would you say? Is it right for such amounts of money to go down the drain of campaigns or not?
To be honest, I don't think at this point, I don't want to talk about the issue of us trying to be magnanimous in victory. To be honest, I want us to concentrate on why I agree with Carol that on so many levels, lines were crossed. Things got deeply, deeply personal. Outright lies were told. But I think that for us to move forward, not forwards, forward, there is a need to look at the country that the APC is going to be inheriting. Um, I think that even the celebrations by my party must be muted. They must be done with a lot of humility because it's like inheriting a cancer patient. A cancer patient that you must nurse back to health with timelines. This Nigeria that General Buhari has inherited will be a very, very impatient Nigeria. Will be a Nigeria that can't wait to see change. The honeymoon period with General Buhari will be very, very short. Very extremely short. Some of us have staked our integrity on this ticket, going online to post promises, post vows. Those posts, those Twitter posts, Facebook posts will be screenshot and shown to us in less than 6 months. That is what you guys promised. When are you going to deliver on it? And knowing that the till is almost empty, I mean, anybody who's educated knows this is the truth. Knowing that the till is almost empty, knowing that the country is canceled, it will be very difficult for us to get anywhere very fast. So I think we should concentrate on the state of the nation, and for now, we'll talk about the campaign. Yes, there will be time to talk about how deep the campaign, how some messages even ever made it onto the TV screens, how some Twitter accounts should have been deleted the moment they came up and all that. But that will be said. But for now, let's Nigeria first. Nigeria first now. Nigeria first always.
All right, Wiga, you spoke about things that should have been curbed, and also you tactically escaped the question of how much went down into the campaigns. Demola, let me come to you. Of course, we know you are a member of the PDP, of course. What would now be your response, looking at that question, looking at the amount of money that went down the drain in terms of campaigns during these elections?
Well, I think I will toe Benga's part of avoiding that question. If not for any reason, but because, I live in Nigeria. Benga lives in Nigeria as well. Carol lives in the UK. And we are all Nigerians, but, well, we understand some realities, and that is that these things are evolving. I'm happy. I choose to focus on the positives. I'm happy that in 2011, when a candidate won and a candidate lost, there was violence, in many parts of the country. 4 years after, this is 2015, a candidate won, another candidate lost. But there are not too many reports of violence from any part of the country. So it is a movement forward. Of course, we'll get to Carol's ideal. We'll get there. We'll get to the place where election funds are limited. Clean campaigns can be run. But but we have to pay attention to some realities. I said, immediately General Muhammadu Buhari was picked as the candidate of the APC. I said that APC has made a tactical. They have got it right tactically. Strategically, it might not have been so good, but tactically, I mean, that was the right move. That was the right move in the short term. That was the right move at that time, because if you take into account some ethnic sentiments in Nigeria and so on and so forth, they played to that, and it worked, So, and that is the reality of politics here in Nigeria. If you're able to play to some things, you play it. So that's the reality. But like Benga said, and I quite appreciate Benga. I like to call him my friend, and I believe that we are friends. I appreciate his thinking, even at this point in time, because I have seen some very crude reaction. I mean, I've had people tell me that someone still told me that I was going to end up in jail in Kirikiri. I've never held government office. He tweeted it at me. I've never held government office before. I've never embezzled government money. So I'm not afraid. But of some people, concerning what happened, what has happened. But as far as people like Benga, are here or are there and will be in government by the grace of God, or will be a part of the support team of the next government, I think that it is good. Right now, I'm speaking to you. I'm using I'm on generator. So we all want. Like I always said, we who are in Nigeria, from anybody, we understand these things. We understand the challenges in power. We understand the challenges everywhere. But the APC needs to realize that they have a lot of work to do, and they have to do it in a little time. Personally, I've said that the only agitation that I will start making from the moment President Muhammadu, before he's sworn in, is for the National Confab Report, for us to see how it can be implemented, for us to see how we can, what parts of it the APC can work with. That will be my only demand for the first 6 months. For the first 6 months, I'm not going to try and criticize the incoming government, because I understand, the challenges that they will face. I won't be criticizing them, but Nigerians may not be so charitable. People have started saying it yesterday that, they expect, things to start changing immediately. Somebody said the dollar as of last night was exchanging 196 to 196 naira to $1. That, that means Buhari is happening. So people are going to come in expecting him to be a magician, and he has to prove to be that magic. So we are all waiting for change. I'm also waiting for change myself, and I'm happy that change has come.
All right. Well, another tactical maneuver. But now, like you said, two of you and Benga live here in Nigeria. Victor, let me come to you. I mean, you live in the Ukraine, and we've seen some forms of elections go on in that country. So, how much do politicians in the country you live in, how much money do they invest during political campaigns?
Wow, that would be very hard to say, because I have not studied the trend of their financial investment into politics.
Just looking at how posters go, posters, jingles on the radio and on national television, billboards, around town, and so on and so forth. How would you compare that, looking at what is obtainable here in Nigeria and what you see where you live?
Okay, what I see where I live, and from things I've observed, is that the clear difference is that the people here tend to concentrate on issue-based campaigns, and just the selling of their brand. So, and that means solely they are working on the advertisement of their brand. But in Nigeria, you have to settle godfathers, settle some groups to endorse you. So I think that's the difference. The money we spend that is spent on unnecessary acquisition of endorsement, which necessarily does not turn into votes. I think that's the major difference between their financial methodology in Ukraine and in Nigeria. So I think advertisement is the same everywhere in the world. People, everybody wants to sell his or her brand, and they will go through any length to do that. So, but the difference now becomes how much money is spent on bribing people and getting some kind of groups to endorse.
Okay, very well. Carol, let me hear from you. Of course, you're also not living in Nigeria. What is obtainable in the part of the country where you live?
In politics, you have to spend money. you for one, Victor, will know how much. I don't know if you're in the finance department of Channel TV, but you know how much you guys have got this campaign period. So a
I'm
lot
not
of
too.
so a lot of money will have been spent, and those are legitimate money because you have to do campaigns, you have to run flyers at TV, radio, online, and print media. But like Victor, the other Victor said, I think there was too much money that went down in bribing people from here and there. Like I said, I think the naira felt the impact the most because it wasn't they were not bribing in naira, they were bribing in dollars, thousands and millions of dollars. So and obviously the demand for dollars would have definitely affected the naira, even though it sort of like unfortunately coincided with the drop in the price of oil. But definitely this election period, obviously uncertainties, investors are not sure what's going to happen. So all that really affected it. And I think now that they've stopped spending, and it's not really the Buhari effect per se, it's just because now there's less stress and demand for dollars, and the naira should start to kind of stabilize, and we'll see how it goes in the next few days, weeks, and months. But I think way too much money was spent bribing people, and hopefully, again, what this victory for Buhari has done is hopefully politicians will not know that it's not necessarily the amount of money you spent, because one cannot begin to quantify the money, for example, that the President Jonathan spent mostly in the southwest and other parts of the country. It's not really about the money you spent, because once the people decide, they have decided, and you have to take your money and or do something when you have your mandate. And if you think you're just going to come out to spend thousands and millions of dollars, your money will fail, as money failed in Egypt at a point. So his money failed in Nigeria, and I'm glad he lost that. And hopefully politicians will have learned that it's not really about the money you spend, it's about the work and the performance. That's what the people want.
All right, Carol. Let's just move now. We're about wrapping up this conversation. But just before we go, Carol, you made mention of you were certain about dollars being going round. I mean, did you get any?
Definitely not. Definitely not. I know a lot of people have asked me that, because I was really almost like a one-man campaign team and stuff. And a lot of people are also, what's in it? What are you getting after this? And I'm like, I really have never one time thought I was doing this for. I did it for the love of the country, and because really, as a great man said, is that it's only when good people do nothing, that is when only evil will triumph. And I saw it as a chance to do something, because the country was going down in drain, and we had to do something. Definitely, I never did it for money, and I'm never expecting anything from anyone. It was for the country, and I'm glad that change has come to Nigeria.
All right, Demola looks like he has something to say to that. Demola, you've been raising your hand, you've been trying to say something. Go ahead, please.
Yes, while I understand that Caro may believe those reports about dollars. I mean, I'm in PDP. I was involved in the campaign, and I'm telling you guys, as members of my generation, that I never saw $1 being exchanged. And I say that with every sense of responsibility. I say that with the credibility of my conscience. You know, of course, you know, I know some people were paid, but I never saw dollars. I never saw anybody. I never saw the dollars exchanging hands. But the fact of the matter is this: it's a ruling class thing. I mean, I try as much as possible to be partisan, but to also understand the mindset of the ruling class. That you can't say that it is only. I mean, I don't want to go into partisanship in this discussion, but since we are here, we might as well go into it. There were allegations. The allegations of dollars exchanging hands started at the APC presidential primaries. That was where the allegations started from.
There won't be need.
Yes, but let's just leave that, and let's just go ahead in the spirit of the victors being magnanimous. We have two victors here. For us, you know, on the losing side, I hate to use that word, but that's the reality of it. For us on the losing side, I think it's time for us to do an introspection. I think it's time for us to look at the party. It's going to take a while. It's not, and that's why I said, you know, We can't just swing into opposition immediately. No, you have to have a party before you have an opposition party. There must be a party that would exist. So if the threat is that PDP might not be a party anymore in the next 6 months, then we have to sit down and ensure that there's a party first of all. So we allow the incumbent government to work, must try hard to regain the confidence of Nigerians, must go through a process of rebranding. There's so much work to be done, honestly. So I think, it's time for me and many others who are on this side to be philosophical and to give the incoming government all the support possible. I know there are a lot of youths in this government. I'm hoping that a lot of youths will come into office, and I urge them to show that that they that we are indeed the turning point generation.
Wow, okay, the turning point generation, to borrow a leaf from Chude. But just before we
Yes.
go, let me look at some of the comments that you guys have been putting up in the chat box. Victor Bamshaye started and said, I think perpetrators of these hate speeches could be brought to book to serve as deterrent to others in the nearest future. Well, the next two don't really count, but the next one is from Caro, and he says, the Naira will resurrect from now on. And Bamshai Victor adds that the stock exchange market did today. I believe he means it has risen. Okaro goes on to say the Naira felt the impact the most. Unnecessary demand for dollars had so much impact on the Naira. Victor says political stability now favors us. Gbenga says GEJ has stopped spending. Okay, I'll hold that comment back. And then he says investors will stay away from for a while to watch GMB in the next 6 months. Okay, he means the next 6 months would be vital. And at one point, one of our party leaders was scared of victory. It's crazy. And Demola, we need everyone to heal this country. Everyone is important. Then Victor says maybe it was converted before it got to you. I don't know what he means by that comment, but Kari is saying they all exchanged money, but we all know who had the bottomless pit. They need to be placed on the hall of shame. You mean the two political parties, Carol, there. All right, very well. But just before we... Okay, great. So, Victor, let me come to you now. We're taking the last word just before we wrap this conversation over. What would be your last word?
I'll be closing with this, that I think the president should enjoy the heroic status of his heroic status, not just for now, but he should maintain his newly acquired status of a statesman by standing by his concession and making sure that his party, follows suit. And I also think that this election is not just a victory for a party, but a victory for Nigerians. At least Nigerians now can have the confidence that if a party or a government is not working, the power has returned to us, and we can change that government. And I think that is the beauty of democracy, because when you look at countries like like the UK, when a party is not working, by the time the next parliamentary election is coming, you see they automatically become the opposition. And by the time the next one comes, this one is not performing, they change them. So what this brings forth is that there's a progressive nature of ideas, because the party that becomes the opposition now sits back and begin to think over new ideas they can present to the people, and they for sure know that if they do not achieve anything, they will be changed in the next election. And so I think we have now joined the Conference of Nations for which democracy is working. And I will also like to say Buhari should and the APC should do their best to form a government of national unity, because now it's not about who is a victor or who is the vanquished. This is a victory for the whole Nigerian community. And I say that with every sense of meaning the word, because I believe that no matter how much PDP has lost, there are still traces of good in them. And that trace of good can be used, to reach the communities where they control, to make sure these communities know that this is a government of the people, and it will be maintained by the people. So I think generally I want to congratulate all Nigerians for the arrival of their new dawn.
All right, Victor, thank you very much. Demola, what would you say in closing?
Well, I think starting from where Victor ended, it is important for us to have a government of national unity. I mean, there were some fears expressed about a Muhammadu Buhari presidency. Now, it's easy for us to wish those things away on the altar of victory for Nigeria, but some of us need to think it's important for us as youth and intellectuals to put these things in perspective. People have said that freedom of speech and so on, the elections. I think as Victor said, there are some good things that were achieved under the PDP government. I've heard someone say that the agriculture minister should that's up to the APC government. But I think in terms of things like the freedom of information, in terms of things like the rule of law, in terms of things like making votes count, I think it is important for this government to do that. And one thing that the PDP did quite very well, or has done very well, is that PDP has always managed to hold power by a balance, of ethnic sentiment. Someone is from this zone, number two comes from that zone, number three comes from that zone, number four comes from that zone. While it might look, be to base things on zoning, I still think that there are some ethnic groups in this country that knowing that someone from their ethnic group is in the hierarchy of power makes them feel confident to be Nigerians. I think these are things that the APC must excel in doing. Apart from getting Nigeria to work, there's also that aspect that needs to be balanced. So I am going to be hoping that indeed there will be a government of national unity, because I've heard it said in some places that the Senate president is going to come from the North Central, is going to come from here, and so on and so forth. But we will be watching, and we will be trying to make sure that the foundation which the PDP has laid is not only built upon, and if there's anything that is not good, that can be taken away. But whatever is good must be retained. If not, Nigerians will be watching, and Nigerians will do the same thing in 2019 again. But for now, we are happy that change is here. We are happy to welcome change. And I personally am looking forward to that change in every respect.
All right, Demola, thank you for your own closing statement. It was quick and fast. Binga, let's now hear from you, even though we have a new caller, Sulaiman Nedabo. We can't see you. You're coming in late. We can't see your picture. I hope you just joined to listen to the conversation. We also see other listeners watching on YouTube. We can see those of you out there, and we do appreciate your viewership of this conversation. But then, Binga, let's hear from you. What would you say in closing this conversation?
Hello. Personally, I'm going to be honest here. I can't wait for us to get to work. I can't wait for us to start plugging the holes. I can't wait for us to start to get down to the nitty-gritty. I can't wait for us to start implementing what was promised in our manifestos. I can't wait to see General Muhammadu Buhari take decisions that will that will reverberate and make Nigerians know that leadership is about action. I can't wait to see Professor Yemi Osinbajo stand on the platform, be on TV and inspire people, inspire millions of young people to succeed. I just can't wait. And I can't wait as well for my PDP brothers to start intellectually criticizing some of our policies and helping to get them better. Look, for me, yes, a lot of things have happened. A lot of mistakes have been made. This is the time to move on and save Nigeria. Nigeria first. For me, Nigeria first at all time. I just can't wait to see us take action and see us start healing this land. That for me, Benga Olorun for me, maybe not Benga Olorun for me, is the most important thing. Thank you very much.
All right, Benga, it seems you and Dimola have the same feeling. You just can't wait for some things to happen. We'll move forward. Carol, now to you. What would you be saying in closing this conversation?
I think, well, the presidential elections is over. They are over, and I would like to say there is no victor, there's no vanquished. This is Nigeria. It's very, very important that we start to rebuild Nigeria because I believe, for one, that the damage that has been done is great and the work ahead is enormous. Everyone needs to pull together and roll up their sleeves and start working to rebuild Nigeria. It's quite evident that there is division in Nigeria along ethnic and religious lines. And what I would like um, General Buhari, I would like to say President-elect Buhari and his cabinet and his government to do, first of all, first things first, is to unite the country because really a house divided against itself will not stand. And unless we come together as and see Nigeria as one and not as a regional country, you're from north south or you're from southeast or south south. Once we see ourselves as one Nigeria, once Nigerians are on the same book, on the same page, I think we can do anything. First of all, again, to defeat Boko Haram. Once Nigerians are on the same page, as Boko Haram is an attack against the whole of Nigeria, not because a Christian is the president or someone from the South is the president. We will defeat Boko Haram in no time, and I believe we can do that. But we need to pull together first. We need to unite the country first. And Benga said, we will be watching the President Buhari, President-elect Buhari, very, very closely, and Nigerians will be watching him closely. The whole world will be watching him closely, and they cannot be excuses now. It's not business as usual for politicians. Nigerians will expect results and will demand results, and they should all be ready for it. I'm sure Nigerians are also are very considerate, and they understand that once you start doing things and they can see that there's progress, they are very content at some point. But then, if there is nothing to show for its goodness, Nigerians will not be will not hold back in calling them to order and demanding change. And we're grateful. We're thankful. It's changed. It's a new dawn, and we're happy this has happened.
All right, Carol, thank you all for coming on the program at this very important point in time. Carol, you are in London. Benga, you are in Lagos, Nigeria. Dimola, you also are in Lagos, Nigeria. And Ramishai Victor is in the Ukraine. Thank you guys once again for joining the Hangout. I am Victor Matthias, and it is a Google Plus Hangout for Channels Beam. And also, just before I go, I must appreciate all of you that were watching on YouTube. We do see you guys there, even though we can't communicate with you guys. But it's good to know you guys are out there, you're watching, and sure, tweeting some of these comments that were being made by the guests that we had on the program. Thank you all once again for coming on the program. I'm Victor Matthias.